The sand shifts. It is 3 a.m. in the Sahara, and the temperature has already plunged nearly 30 degrees from what it was at noon. A small shape moves through the darkness, enormous ears swiveling like satellite dishes, scanning the silence for anything that might eat it before it eats something else. Its paws press lightly against the cooling dunes, each step calculated, each pause a risk assessment. It has been walking for 2 hours. It has found nothing. This is the Fennec fox. And if you have ever seen one in a photograph, those absurd ears, that cartoon face, that seemingly impossible combination of fragility and charm, you may have thought, just for a moment, that this animal must have a wonderful life. You were wrong. Because this creature, so frequently described as adorable, so often sold as an exotic pet, so casually celebrated on social media, lives a life of almost unrelenting punishment. Every single night is a gamble. Every burrow is temporary. Every meal is uncertain. The Sahara does not care how cute you are. The desert does not reward charm. And for the Fennec fox, the smallest wild canid on Earth, survival is not a given. It is a negotiation. And the desert almost never offers fair terms. She does not choose when to be born. No creature does. But the Fennec fox arrives in a world that seems almost specifically engineered to kill it. A litter is born in spring, usually between 2 and 5 kits, blind, helpless, ears folded flat against their heads, buried deep inside a den that their mother has spent days excavating in the shifting, unreliable sand. The den is their only safety. But sand is not stone. It collapses. It floods in rare but catastrophic rain events. It shifts in wind. The structure their mother dug can be undone in hours by a storm she had no warning about. For the first 2 weeks of life, the kits cannot see. They cannot hear clearly. They cannot regulate their own body temperature in a desert that can reach over 100 degrees Fahrenheit during the day and drop near freezing at night. They are entirely dependent on their mother, and she is dependent on a partner who may or may not still be alive, may or may not have found food, may or may not return. The father, in functional family groups, does help. He brings food. He guards the entrance. But this cooperation is fragile. The desert is not interested in nuclear families. A single predator encounter, a territorial dispute, a stretch of bad hunting, and one parent is simply gone. And a mother Fennec fox raising kits alone in the Sahara is already facing odds that most animals would not survive. Even in the best conditions, not all kits make it. The runt of the litter, if there is one, will almost certainly fall behind. Malnourishment comes quickly. A kit that cannot compete for nursing will weaken in days. And once a kit falls behind, there is no catching up. The desert has no patience for the slow. This animal must learn almost everything, and it must learn fast. By 6 weeks, the kits begin to emerge from the burrow. The world they enter is blinding. The Sahara in daylight is a sensory assault, heat radiating up from the sand, ultraviolet light bouncing off every pale surface, the wind moving constantly. They are not ready for this world. But the world does not wait. The mother and the father, when present, begin showing the kits how to hunt. This is not a gentle process. Fennec foxes are omnivores, eating insects, small rodents, lizards, birds, eggs, and whatever plant material they can find. Each of these food sources requires a different hunting technique. Insects must be pounced on before they vanish into sand. Rodents must be dug out fast, precise digging before they escape through tunnel systems far more complex than the fox's own. Lizards are quick and camouflaged. Eggs must be found, and finding them requires knowing which birds nest where and when. This is months of learning, and during those months, the young foxes are practicing in the open, visible, small, slow compared to an adult. The threats that exist for an adult Fennec eagles, jackals, eagle owls, caracals, and humans exist equally for a juvenile. But a juvenile has none of the speed, none of the experience, and none of the split-second environmental reading that keeps an adult alive. There is no safety net in this classroom. The lesson and the threat arrive at the same time. And there is one more lesson the mother cannot fully teach, the lesson of human beings. Over the last several decades, the range of the Fennec fox has increasingly overlapped with human settlements, tourist routes, vehicle tracks, and trapping operations. A kit that grows up near human activity must learn, somehow, that the hands that reach toward it with food are not hands it should trust. Some learn, many do not. Consider what this animal is asking of itself every single day. The fennec fox is nocturnal by necessity, not by preference. The Sahara's daytime temperatures would kill it in the open within hours. So it sleeps through the day in its burrow, waiting, conserving energy while the sun scorches the surface above. Then, when darkness finally comes, it has one window, several hours of night, to find everything it needs to survive. In that window, it must locate food in one of the harshest, most sparsely populated environments on the planet. The Saharan desert is not simply dry. It is one of the most food-scarce places on Earth. Prey density is extremely low. A fennec may cover several kilometers in a single night and find almost nothing. Its enormous ears, the feature that makes it so visually striking, exists specifically to detect the faint sounds of insects and small animals moving underground or beneath the sand. Without those ears, it would starve faster. It cannot afford to drink water in the way most animals do, because standing water does not exist in most of its range. Instead, it metabolizes moisture from its food from the bodies of insects, from the occasional piece of fruit or plant material. This works, but it is a razor-thin margin. A run of bad hunting does not just leave the fennec hungry, it leaves the fennec dehydrated. And dehydration in the Sahara is not a slow process. It sleeps in a burrow. It has dug itself often several meters deep to escape both the heat and predators. But the sand shifts. Burrows must be maintained, expanded, relocated. This is energy expenditure on top of energy expenditure. The fennec fox is burning calories it cannot always replace just to maintain a home that isn't even permanent. This is what an ordinary night looks like for this animal. Not adventure, not freedom, just the exhausting arithmetic of staying alive. There are moments in a fennec fox's life that push it past the edge of what any small animal should have to endure. The eagle owl is perhaps its most efficient predator. Silent, enormous, capable of hunting in near total darkness, the eagle owl requires no warning before it strikes. A fennec fox has almost no defense against it. Its only hope is to hear the wing displacement in the air above it, which, with those remarkable ears, it sometimes can, but sometimes cannot. And the margin between hearing in time and not hearing in time is measured in fractions of a second. Jackals are persistent. They are large enough to dig. A fennec fox can outrun a jackal in a sprint, but not across kilometers, not when already exhausted from a night of failed hunting. And a jackal that finds a burrow with kits inside does not need to be fast. It just needs to be patient. Then there are the sandstorms. In the Sahara, these are not inconveniences. They are walls of airborne particulate, sometimes hundreds of meters high, that travel at extreme speed and can last for hours. A fennec fox caught in the open during a major sandstorm has almost no chance of navigating. The sand fills its ears, it blinds, it buries. Animals caught in the open have been found suffocated, their lungs clogged, their bodies partially interred by the time the storm passes. For a moment, just one, imagine how the desert looks as darkness settles, the air cooled, the stars overhead, and a fennec picking its way delicately across the sand, ears wide, nose down, entirely alone. There is almost a kind of peace to it. Then the wind picks up, and that peace is gone. There is no peace in the Sahara. There is only the next threat. This creature's existence is not incidental. It matters. The fennec fox is a key piece of the desert food web. By hunting insects, it controls populations that would otherwise strip the sparse vegetation of the Sahara and the Sahel. By hunting small rodents, it limits animals that compete with larger, more ecologically important species. Its burrows, the same burrows it works so hard to maintain, are used by dozens of other species after it abandons them. Reptiles shelter in them. Invertebrates colonize them. Birds sometimes nest in the entrances. A single fennec fox, in a single season, creates habitat for species that could not otherwise survive. Its scat distributes seeds. Its digging aerates the compacted desert crust. It is, in the dry language of ecology, a keystone species in microcosm, a small animal doing enormous invisible work. And what does the ecosystem return to it for this labor? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The desert gives the fennec fox no safe drinking water, no reliable food supply, no shelter it does not build itself, no protection from the things that hunt it. It asks this animal to work constantly, to risk itself constantly, to sustain an ecosystem that offers it only the bare minimum needed to keep working. The fennec fox is not living in the desert. It is servicing it. And the desert, indifferent to everything, does not even notice. The fennec fox is currently listed as a species of least concern by the IUCN. That phrase, least concern, sounds almost reassuring. It is not. It means that, as of current assessment, the species is not yet in immediate danger of extinction. It does not mean the species is thriving. It does not mean its population is stable. It does not mean the threats it faces are not growing. Across North Africa and the Middle East, the fennec fox is hunted for two purposes that, between them, represent a perfect summary of how human beings have failed this animal. The first is the exotic pet trade. Fennec foxes are in demand in markets across the Gulf states, Europe, and increasingly East Asia. They are captured from the wild adults in kits and sold. Most do not survive transport. The ones that do survive transport often die within months in captivity, unable to thrive in controlled environments that cannot replicate the specific temperature cycles, diet, and social dynamics of their natural habitat. But the demand continues, because they are beautiful, because they are unusual, because they are small enough to hold in a lap. The second purpose is tourism. In parts of Tunisia and Morocco and elsewhere, fennec foxes are kept often illegally, often in distressing conditions as photo props for tourists who pay to hold them. This is not conservation. This is commerce, dressed as affection. Meanwhile, its habitat continues to degrade. Desertification is accelerating. Agricultural expansion fragments its range. Climate change is shifting precipitation patterns and temperature extremes in ways that the fennec fox's already marginal survival strategy may not be able to absorb. Should humans intervene more aggressively to protect it? The argument for intervention is clear. This animal is under direct human pressure. The argument against is also uncomfortable. The fennec fox has survived in the Sahara for longer than recorded history. Its populations may be resilient in ways our assessments cannot capture. Intervention carries its own risks: habitat disruption, dependency, false security. Both sides are reasonable. Neither side offers the fennec fox any relief. The range of the fennec fox spans an enormous and hostile arc across the northern third of Africa, from the Atlantic coast of Morocco and Mauritania, eastward across Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt, and continuing into the Sinai Peninsula and parts of the Arabian Peninsula. Some populations exist in the Sahel, the semi-arid transition zone south of the Sahara proper, though these are increasingly isolated as land use changes. This sounds like a large territory. In practice, it is not a safe one. The Central Sahara, where populations are densest, is also the least accessible for conservation monitoring. Researchers working in these regions face the same conditions the foxes face: extreme heat, minimal water, disorienting uniformity of landscape. Population estimates remain uncertain. Nobody knows exactly how many fennec foxes exist. The numbers given tens of thousands, perhaps more, are extrapolations, not counts. The coastward populations, in countries like Tunisia and Morocco, are the most studied. They are also the most threatened by the pet trade, by road traffic, by the expansion of human settlements into lowland desert margins. Animals that live near roads are killed by vehicles. Animals that live near settlements are captured for sale. The edge of its range is where the fennec fox is most visible to humans, and therefore most endangered by them. Even within the deep Sahara, this creature does not have a sanctuary. It has a battlefield with a lower density of enemies. That is the best the world offers it. There is a word that gets used about the fennec fox constantly. In every nature article, every zoo description, every social media caption, the word is adorable. And it is true. It is one of the most visually striking small mammals on the planet. Those ears evolved over millennia to detect prey underground in a landscape with almost no other food have become, in human perception, a feature of cuteness, an aesthetic, a selling point. We look at this animal and we feel affection. We want to hold it. We want to photograph it. We want to own it. We do not, as a rule, think about the night it just had before we found it. The kilometers walked across freezing sand, the unsuccessful hunts, the narrow escape from something overhead, the burrow that took an hour to repair after the wind shifted. We do not think about the kits it may have left behind, or the partner that may not have come back, or the fact that this animal's body is running on the moisture extracted from insects it caught in the dark. We see the ears. We see the face. We take the photo. The Fennec fox does not know what a photo is. It does not know what adorable means. It knows the temperature of sand, it knows the sound of wings, it knows how deep to dig before the heat becomes survivable. It knows hunger. It knows the cold that comes after midnight, and the heat that comes before noon, and the permanent uncertainty of everything in between. It will live, on average, 10 years in the wild, if it is lucky, if it survives its first winter, if it survives its first sandstorm, if it is not captured, if no eagle finds it, if the sand holds. And when it dies, somewhere in the dark, in the silence of a desert that never once softened for it, the dunes will shift over whatever remains of it, and by morning there will be no trace. The Sahara will not remember it was there. We will post its picture online and caption it goals.